What the fuck? The fuck? What the f? The f? The f? The f? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yes. Let's go. What's good? Wow. Big night. Big night for the stream. Big night for everybody. Big night for me. Big night for everybody. Man, I'm excited and I'm nervous, to be honest. So, yo, chat. What the fuck is good? How's everybody doing? Just want to say thank you to everyone who's coming out and everyone who came out to the Producers Den at Lost Lands. Man, that was such a big deal. It was so fun. And I'm really excited to figure out a way to bring the Producers Den, and now the Producers Corner, to Twitch and podcasts everywhere and YouTube. And shout out to everybody listening and chilling. This is the start of something really big that, man, I'm so excited about that. I've been working on for a really long time. So I just wanted to take a second to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting. So thank you guys. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where HeRobust is. It's little duty. How's everybody doing tonight? We got HeRobust in this thing, man. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be big. What up, Grego? What up, everyone in the chat? What up, Triples? Wob, Kali, thank you for the sub. Shout out to everyone supporting this shit. Where you at, bro? How's everybody's Tuesday going? Hell yeah, dude. This is gonna be sick. You guys like the setup here? It's like we're in the Producer's Den right now. And here we are. Hayden Kramer has entered the building. Hello? He connecting. There he is.
What up?
What up? Hey. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
There's really no one else that I would want to be my first guest. You know, Producers Den, you were the first person I hit up. Obviously.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
It was stacked. It was stacked.
It was stacked. It was stacked. And we actually had, and there was a bunch of people that I wanted to be there that just kind of, I don't know if they just didn't want to speak or stage fright. You'd be surprised how many DJs have stage fright. Like how many people just were not down to talk. But I feel like there's a difference between stage fright in front of 20,000 people at Lost Lands and stage fright in front of 100 people watching you talk about your most private element of your life, like music production.
For sure. I mean, it's definitely, it's one thing to be like on stage and like you're kind of in your comfort zone because you're doing something that you're very well practiced in and you're confident in your abilities, like on stage, but public speaking and stuff is a whole other, arena.
Yeah, it really is. And I feel like, I don't know, man. I've always had the public speaking bug. I don't know why. But I think you either got it or, I don't know. But anyways, to the point, I'm really fucking stoked to have you. Your presentation at the Producers Den was legendary. Honestly, it was probably my favorite. You got to come up with a title for this Venn diagram, bro. Yo, like, is there a title for the Venn diagram? I need to know.
That's it. There's only one that matters. There's only one you've seen since what, like 6th grade or whatever. And it's that one.
That Venn.
Yeah. I don't know.
So yeah.
Audio. You're coming through my laptop speakers instead of my headphones.
Is that an issue?
No, we're good. We're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I don't really hear an echo. It seems to be okay. Chat, is everything okay? I think everything is okay.
Let me pull up your stream real quick.
Yeah, everybody's saying everything is good. It looked like good. So basically, this is how. What up, Carter? Basically, this is how it's gonna work.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just speaking to the chinat. Yeah, Hayden is gonna do a little chit chat, a little presentation, and then I'm gonna ask a few questions. This is gonna be just kind of an open forum discussion. For anyone who's new and doesn't know about the Producers Den, I'll give you background real quick. The Producers Den was a thing that me and a couple other people did at Lost Lands, where we had a bunch of my favorite artists come up, and each one of them presented kind of their own thing, whatever their favorite thing to talk about, or the thing that they felt most comfortable with. Hayden talked about songwriting and sound design, and then guys like Sullivan King talked about vocal processing. Downlink talked about mixing. Man, I learned a lot from the Downlink thing. He's a legend.
Yeah,
Obviously,
because he also, I think a lot of people didn't realize like how valuable of like a networking opportunity it was too, because I think like Downlink signed somebody's tune at the session, which is crazy. So that's really cool.
Totally, because part of the deal was at the end, if you pay, there were 24 slots for the platinum band for the Producers Den, and for you did it, you get feedback, and the one that just so happened that I think the best one of the weekend was the one when Downlink was talking. So
wow, really?
Yeah, that was and it was totally luck of the draw of who got what, and
a lot of them were good.
Yeah, they were. There were a lot. I was impressed.
Bro, it's such a weird thing when you're on our side of like the stage, and like we're kind of like on a pedestal, right? Like we're supposed to be like the pros, like the best in the world, and you sit down to like have people play them your shit, and it's like your shit's like just as good as
right.
Like it's
none of us have ever wanted to be on a pedestal anyways, and it's
right.
nice. It's nice for other people to get a reminder too that there's so much talent. And this is one of the
it's awesome.
This was one of the questions that I just want to ask you this question anyways, because I was thinking about it. Also chat, if you have questions for HeRobust at the end, Mod, can we get a chat ting in here? You mean it? What up, Pleasure Beats?
What up, Sean? What up, Justin?
What up, the Lord Sean?
What up, chat?
Head over to the Discord and drop them in the question server, and then we're gonna get to them at the end. Okay, so that's how it goes. So my first question is: do you think that quarantine has leveled the playing field?
No.
Okay. So basically, let me elaborate a little bit on what I'm thinking about leveling the playing field. So, a lot of people will say yes or no that music production is somewhat competitive, and people are at an advantage. Some are at more of an advantage than others. You were at the right time in the right place, or like me, you came up when there just wasn't that much competition and it wasn't oversaturated. And I know, and SoundCloud used to work. SoundCloud worked. It was crazy. But what I'm saying now is that I think that some people have the opinion that before, with touring, that you couldn't get a leg up if you could never get your foot in the door with touring. And I think that now that touring is off the table, it kind of lessens the power of, I'm a touring artist. I may not have as much momentum because I haven't put out music, or maybe I haven't had that number one heater since my last tour, but I can still tour off that,
Right. I would say the opposite, to be honest, because put yourself in the promoter's shoes, right? If tomorrow, COVID's gone, it's completely safe unanimously to have shows everywhere. You're a promoter, you're going to throw a show, right? And so you're going to put some money on the line.
Yeah.
Who are you going to book for your first show back? Like, are you going to, book some, like a smaller act that maybe, like did well over quarantine in the sense that he got Twitch followers? Or are you going to bring somebody back that has tour history, that you've done shows with, that can sell tickets in that city? Because at the end of the day, like the newer artists, they still need that tour history for promoters who are assuming all the risk in our industry. Promoters assume all the risk. Mm-hmm. So for them to bet on you, it's just a safer bet if they know that you've sold tickets there. I think when shows are going on, think about how you get rewarded as a smaller artist who's making dope music. If you're a smaller artist and you're making dope music, all of a sudden you get put support on somebody else's tour. Like
Mhm.
where that smaller artist show, maybe they would have played for 300 people, but now they got picked up and now their Excision's direct support, even if they
Mhm.
play at 9:30, they're still playing for 6,000 people.
Yeah.
That's the
And
best thing.
that happened to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
It happens.
So now it's like you got these young guys that are grinding to get those types of opportunities, but
Mhm.
because touring's gone, those opportunities aren't here anymore.
Interesting.
So they can still grow in a different way, but they're not going to hit that exponential growth that they hit when like a bigger artist can co-sign and like really take them on the road, because that's the best exposure you're going to get.
It's true. I guess that leads me to another question about quarantine producing. Is that, do you think the desire for bangers has decreased?
Um, I can't speak for everybody, but I think the setting in which people consume music affects, the music that they like the most.
Mm.
Um, and so actually, that's actually a big part of my talk today, because you kind of asked me to like revisit the Venn diagram,
Mhm.
and kind of like, so I'm trying to build off of the talk that I gave at Lost Lands. And obviously the setting, the context that our fans consume our music in is totally different now. It's totally changed. So
Mhm.
it's totally affected what they prefer. Even live, like if you were to play one of those drive-in shows tomorrow, would you
Mhm.
play the same kind of set, or would you think like, what are they gonna like differently, like being inside a car? You know what I mean? Like it's everything changed.
But are they in the car though, or are they outside headbanging on an invisible rail in front?
I'm not. I mean, I think it depends on like it varies show to show, but you see what I mean. Like
Totally.
the context changes. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think, to answer your question, if I were to play a drive-in show tomorrow, I would just play all the music I played made during quarantine. And I think I would be, and
Oh,
I
okay.
think I would be a little bit less risky to play things like drum and bass, or something maybe a little bit more chill. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like,
Bro, I play every car type anthem. They see me rolling, like all that.
oh my god,
Every
so cheese,
I'm
bro.
playing
Not
all.
shocked at
I'm
all.
playing every Fast and Furious
Oh
theme
fuck.
ever.
Yeah, Rough Riders anthem. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
Just
Oh
all
yeah.
that would be hilarious. Everyone pays for a headline HeRobust set, and they just get the early 2000s banger rap set.
Fuck
Surprise,
yeah.
bitch. That's all you get. Fuck.
It's happened. It's happened before. Not gonna
Um
lie.
okay. Yeah, totally. I agree. People are like, "All right. I didn't know I wanted this." Like,
You said.
I didn't know I needed this. I
You said.
expected something else. Yeah, I would freak out. I'd be raging. I would also do the same thing. I would do it. 100%. All right. You want to get into this thing?
Yeah, sure. Let me pull this down, or let me share first, right?
Yeah, do the share. Carter
All
says
right.
more people are gaming and a lot of people listen to heavy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, people still obviously listen to heavy stuff, but I think people who used to sit on the rail and like flick you off if you played like a
Ugh,
melodic tune, like those, there's not that energy's gone.
man,
Like
that's so true. I have specific nightmares of those people. I can see them all in my sleep. They're my sleep paralysis demon. I remember from when I was on tour with Datsik, like in 2014 or something like that, and we were at F Shed in Syracuse, and there was two of them right there, and I'll never forget their faces. I'm still scarred by it. If you're in the chat, don't ever do that, please. It sticks with us. It hurts.
it does.
All right, you want to hit the full screen?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, guys.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna
now I'm
let you talk.
basically talking to the chat now. Um, I'm gonna do sound design. I know that's what everybody wants, and I will get there. That's the fun stuff. But I get demos from you guys every day, like a ton of them. So I have a very good idea of like, where you're at, like the music that you're making, and why a lot of it is eventually working, and why a lot of it is not working, unfortunately. And to be honest, it's rare that I hear a song and I'm like, the thing holding this back is the sound design sucks, or the thing that's holding this back is like, the mix sound or the drums is not good enough. What's holding back most people's music is their songwriting. It's their songwriting. So I'm focusing on this because I honestly think this is what you need to hear the most. Um, so, oh, cool. It like fades the shit in. All right. So the
Yeah,
goal.
hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna stop you real quick.
Yeah,
It's not record. Is this shit something fucked up with the recording? And I just want to make sure this is recording.
for sure.
It'll be all right. We'll go back to the VODs after, and it'll be fine. Right? Hold on 1 second. Let me talk to mods real quick. Yo, the recording just thing wasn't broken. It's gonna record in the VODs, right? Somebody, Nick. I think we'll be all right.
You talking about like your Streamlabs didn't record how you
Yeah.
wanted, or?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Carry on. Carry on as is
All right.
tradition. We good. We good.
All right, cool. All right. I see some questions in the chat. I'm gonna hopefully everything will be answered like in the shit. And then if it's not, then that's when I'll go back and answer everybody's questions afterwards. So
Yeah.
the goal here is to make sure that you're writing music that is designed to work. Like this is designed to make that connection with the fan. Because here's what happens way too often. We start a song, right? And we have an idea of what we want it to be. But halfway through we get into the weeds of producing, and we're focused on the transients of the snare, and like the how much weight should be in my kick drum, and how do I want to multi-band sidechain this, or do I just sidechain this whole group? Do I bus compress that? You get into the weeds and you start focusing on these little, minute details that are totally important. But if you lose sight of the bigger picture, your track can totally veer off and become something that, you never, that strays from what like the song is supposed to be designed to be effective, right? To connect with your people. And a good example of this is like if you've ever seen a business plan, right? It's always just tons of obvious shit. Everything I'm about to say right now is completely obvious. But because they're obvious, they get overlooked when you're running a business and when you're like doing all this other shit. Like, it's easy to overlook, and all of a sudden you're unorganized and you're not really moving towards like an effective goal. So that's all this is. It's really simple shit, but I promise you it's stuff that you overlook all the time. So in trying to make music that works, right, you have to think about like, what is the context that these people are listening to? Max even brought up the fact that the context has totally changed. We'll get to that, but that's why that's interesting. So who's your listener? How are they listening? If you think about like some guy listening to a full album on vinyl in their living room, appreciating every second, listening to every second of every song, right? That's a completely different listener than someone who's at the gym and it's just background music for them, right? They're focused on lifting, music's just in the background. Raving at a live performance, that's obviously like the most important context, because that's what we make music for. So that's what I'm going to focus on the most. So to give you some insight, a headliner like Max or we play 60 songs, about 60 songs an hour, right? I average maybe 70, 75, something like that. So over the course of, a 3-day festival, you got 8 artists per stage, 4 stages per day. That's a queue of like thousands and thousands and thousands of songs. Maybe not thousands, but like at least 1,000 songs, right? So in an hour, you're hearing, 60 songs plus. So that's 60 seconds per song. And the playlist is like 1,000 songs. So that's not the same as somebody listening to one album and listening to like 12 or 10 songs and hearing them all like from front to back. This is a completely different context. So when you write a song, you have to think about like, what do I have to do to be successful in this context, in this queue, as opposed to in this one, if this is where you want your music to be played and be, digested by your fans, right? So it's just a very, very saturated setting. And to ignore that really behooves what you're trying to accomplish. Let me move this guy here. So question I want to ask is it good enough to write a song that's just good? Writing a good song is great, but in my opinion, it is not good enough because you're not going to get noticed in this queue of thousands of songs. You're hearing maybe 60, 45 seconds of each song in that. So you have to grab your listener. You have to convey an idea, anything. It doesn't have to be anything cool or important, but you have to convey an idea that connects with them in a very, very small window. So, you know, over the course of a festival weekend, you're going to hear thousands of songs that are good. You're not going to remember every single one of those songs. You're going to remember a select few that planted an idea in your head, that conveyed something and really connected with you. So what we're going to be talking about is ways to make sure that your music is making that connection. You don't want to spend weeks, months, hours, whatever, on all your sound design and your mixing and your mastering, all to collectively create a song that doesn't convey anything to bridge a gap between you and your fan. It's about bridging that gap to make that connection. Okay, so this is probably this like epiphany was like the biggest like pivotal moment in my career in terms of writing music that was consistently well received. Okay, it's a question that I ask myself about my music as I'm making it over and over and over. For the purposes of lecturing, I gave it a name. It's called the Raver A, Raver B test, right?
Yes.
If you if you envision two ravers, right, like after a festival, like back at the campsite, or maybe just standing in the back of the crowd, and one of them wants to convey to the other, you know, hey, what was that one song that went like blah blah blah, right? If you've written a song that passes this test, and if you've written a song where they've heard it in that setting, they've gotten some kind of connection with it, and then are able to verbally communicate it to somebody else, then that means you have a song that's like, it's just a strong piece of work. It's good. If you're spending a lot of time on a song and you realize that it's going to fail this test, then it's super easy. You can incorporate one little signature element, anything, and then as soon as it passes this test, now you have something that people can really resonate with people, that they can connect with. So these are a handful of vehicles that you can use to get that done. And I'm going to reiterate this because I know this looks stupid. This is all obvious shit. It's so obvious that we overlook it all the time. But when you overlook it, you end up writing music that just doesn't work. So if I said, what was that one song that went like like right away, you know, that's Levels. Raver B is like, oh yeah, that's Avicii, that's an Anthem, great melody, whatever. If he said, what was that song that went like, what the fuck, you know, oh, that's HeRobust, he made the song, what the fuck, it's whatever, it's okay. I included cadence here because I know a lot of you guys probably make rhythm, and I don't want you to think that you have to use melody in order to get stuck in somebody's head. Every single time Sudden Death plays Behemoth, you hear the whole crowd yelling bup 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 bup. It's about to, you know, so you can totally use cadence to get stuck in somebody's head, to plant that idea, that's something that they can convey verbally. Like straight quarter notes, straight eighth notes are not going to do it. You know, it's got to be kind of like a signature kind of cadence or rhythm, but it's totally an option, especially for rhythm if you're going to do like less tonal information in your song. Some others would be like a theme. If you think about Knife Party doing Destroy Them with Lasers, or Centipede, or like with me and Monks doing Giant Squid'em, you know, in a stack of thousands and thousands of, you know, bangers, one or two that have a theme of like a deep sea monster or whatever, like it helps get your shit noticed a little bit. And, you know, others could be like, you know, shock value, and stuff like that. I mean, there's a million ways to really, you know, make an impression. But the point is, you know, making that impression should be a prerequisite. You shouldn't be just trying to make a song that's good. You know, if you're doing it for fun or whatever, that's totally fine. But if you're really trying to make a connection with a fan in this context, which is like, as we've talked about, it's like hyper saturated, hyper competitive. You really should be pretty focused on making sure that you are making an impression, like first and foremost. Okay, so this unfortunately is the average. This is the average demo that I get, that we probably all get. Okay, I'm gonna describe a song, and you're gonna think to yourself, does this pass the test? Right? A song opens with a long Hans Zimmer, beautiful F horn sample, boom, you know, and it's got like the ominous, like cinematic horror sound effects all over the place, like, you know, knife sharpening sounds and shit, boom, all that shit. The big impact. It sounds like a movie trailer, you know, for whatever the fuck. And then it starts building slowly, and it builds and builds and gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And then it says like 1, 2, 3, drop the bass. And then a drop comes, and the drop is good. The drop is actually sick. The sound design is dope. Cool concept. Drums punch through the mix properly. Strong sub. And then when the drop ends, it splashes out into like, you know, a sparse kind of nothingness. And then it just repeats with the bomb, and then it continues from there. That song, first of all, I get that song like 10 times a day. It's a great song. I love that song. But in a sea of similar dubstep songs, this song doesn't make an impression on people in that crowd, because if you really look at it on paper, if I'm a fan and I love this artist, I'm looking to connect with them in some way. If the artist doesn't give me any item to connect with them on, then I have no way to really internalize this and connect with this. And you like it doesn't pass the test. It just doesn't.
No.
If for example, if the EDM vocal was 1, 2, I love ketchup or whatever, that's enough.
It might hit.
Yeah, that's enough, bro. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to say like you got to compromise yourself. You need to like throw creativity out the window, be formulaic. Like, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you have to put just even one item, a bridge for your fan to connect with this art. If you said 1, 2, I love ketchup, your super fans are going to show up to your shows with packets of ketchup, and they're gonna be wearing like all red, like with Heinz custom merch and shit. Like that's the difference. That's the difference. Like, fans are looking to connect with you. And if you don't put forward an idea for them to connect with you with, then you're really selling your art short, you know? And I know how much time you guys spend on your stuff. So you need to know how important it is to make sure that you are conveying an idea like that. I mean, right, Max? Like, it's super important.
Yeah, I mean, in before someone in the chat drops that "I love ketchup" anthem.
Seriously, somebody go for it.
It's
full,
like
full
it's
support.
so true. I mean, like when I was writing Bop Bop, it was like the drop is fairly generic. I mean, it's a good drop, but the vocal is what the hook is
Right.
is what gets you. And I was like,
Right.
I had written like 10 different vocals, and originally the vocal was like a Bun B vocal, and we are like, we can't use this, obviously.
Right.
But we were like, what? It felt kind of like halfway corny, like the discussion that the ideas that I was pitching to Dirt Monkey about what the vocal should be.
Right.
And I just like was on Twitter, and like everyone was saying like, oh man, this is a bop, and I was like, it's got to be that. It just falls
Right.
along the lines of like, what, you know, does it pass the test? It's easy. It's that simple, I think.
Right.
But I think that also has to do with like, what are your goals? You know, if
Right.
your goals are for people to play your music, and if your
Right.
goals are to play festivals, I guess, then I
Right.
think that this test is
For sure.
It's foolproof.
Well, yeah, that's kind of an assumption that I make, like when I'm talking to people, you know, like that are your fans.
Sure. I always like when I teach, I always make sure to ask that question though, because I feel like not everybody is on that tip.
Oh, for sure.
But for the most of the people are 100%.
Yeah,
That is the vibe.
for sure. And keep in mind, like, I'm not I would never assume that like I'm a better producer than anybody else. To be honest, like, people like me and Max are super fortunate to have had this opportunity to travel the world and play different types of music for, you know, different countries and different people, and see how they react. We kind of develop like a first class education
Mm.
on like what works on the dance floor, what doesn't, what behavior does it elicit, and all that kind of shit. And for a bedroom producer to not know that, like, that's totally normal. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Before I was touring, I was making all sorts of music that had no chance at ever working on a dance floor. I didn't know that. I was just having fun making music, and that's fine. But now that I feel like we are in this fortunate position, like, I know all this stuff, and I hear people making awesome music that's just doesn't really translate to where they want it to work. And it's like, this is how easy it is. You just have to kind of create with this in mind. And like, what I'm saying is, you probably already have the chops to write the music you want to write, and like, and have it work and connect with people the way you want.
Yeah.
um yeah. So this is Max's favorite. This is the the Venn diagram.
This is it.
It's more of a joke than anything, but if you start thinking about these kinds of vehicles and how they, you know, how they allow you to connect with fans, I chart some of your songs on here and see how good they actually are. Like, just analytically thinking, like, all my swings and misses, like all my tracks that never did shit for my career, they're like, they're way off over here, or they're way down over here, or
Mm.
most of them are probably all shock value, no engineering. Like, it's just all over here. But if you think about, like, if you think about Skrillex, or actually I'll run through some examples, right? um if you think about the, like, the Grizz Subtronics, everybody loves the vocal, like, ooh, that should be hitting different. But then they also love the melody, bum 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 bum. So right, so that song is in here. You know what I mean? A track that's like, you know, Glaze and Heckler 404, and the drop just, I mean, the drop is awful. It's like, it basically sounds like a rape whistle or something. But the shock value is incredible.
Right.
Like, and it's so loud. The engineering is insane. The shock value is great. So you get two of these categories. You know, like, if you start thinking about it, even before I really, you know, play a song out, now I can kind of listen to a song and tell, like, oh, this is gonna work. This is gonna work. And I can kind of tell you for how long it's going to work, you know, because the shock value stuff, it lasts for like a festival season, whereas
Mhm.
like the melody stuff can last, you know, a way longer time. But anyway, like I said, it's more of a joke than anything. You see Skrillex is in the middle, and I put him there because I think so many people kind of reduce him to just being the first guy to use Massive, or the first guy to do, like, you know, modern dubstep sound design and like American dubstep. But the truth of the matter is, you could take any of his biggest hits and write it out in sheet music and give it to a band, and it's still a fantastic song. You know,
Mm.
he didn't just make, you know, bangers. Like, he wrote complete, like, you know, great songs. um and that, to attribute his success to just like sound design and like kind of what people probably want to hear, is just, that's just not true. Like, his songwriting was fucking awesome. um okay, so this is kind of a similar concept in the sense that you're trying to make an impression. I'm gonna, you know, flashback to, like, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, whenever Riot 10 put out Railbreaker, that whole festival season, like, pretty much every set was playing that song, and or at least the vocal, and you'd hear the whole crowd yell, like, "All my fucking head bangers," blah, 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 you know. So, and every time I would hear it just over and over, and I was like, man, like, it's so cool that, you know, that he's created a moment, you know, for his set and for other people's sets. Like, he's created something that's iconic to the point where it's like, it's a moment in a set. You know, it takes a lot, like, and I'm like a levels melody, or like a Galantis vocal, or, you know, like, something has to be really really special to like create a moment that everybody universally is like, yeah, I'll use that in my set. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I want to create a moment of my own. And I sat down and I made What the Fuck like that. it wasn't like my whole career I was trying to like create this moment, and it's like in every song I put out, I failed to achieve it. I just literally hadn't thought to do it. I just kind of had it was like everything I was doing was like flawed by design, if that was my goal. As soon as I consciously thought, oh, this is what I could really use in my set, I'm gonna make this because I know it's gonna like connect with people, and it's gonna be just kind of a beautiful moment that we share. It happened like that. So again, you're probably good enough. You probably have the production chops to make the music of your dreams and have all the fans you want. It's just a matter of understanding how to connect with people and just making sure that your music includes some of those features to get that done.
You know what's an interesting part about if you successfully create a moment is that if the moment is good enough, then other DJs want that moment during their collection of moments.
It's great. It's
you know
great.
what I'm saying? So like
Totally.
But I feel like, I don't know, low key the risk of creating a moment is that there's a chance that other people wouldn't want their own moments. And they're like, yo, I can't have any other homie's moment in my shit. Like,
oh, for sure.
I don't know if that many other DJs will open their set with what the fuck,
No, not to say they would open with it.
But
But I mean, at the very, like, what I hear most often, or like when the song was fresh, they would play the song. When the remixes were fresh, they would play a remix. If I hear it now, it's like it's a while later. Yeah, you get the edit. Where
you get the edit.
They use the breakdown.
They just take the vocal.
Yeah, exactly. And then they build it into like maybe one of their drops, which is totally fine. I mean, honestly, we've all been doing this to Flostradamus for years, right? Like I've used Mosh Pit and a million of their songs over and over because they were really good about creating a moment. Prison Riot, it creates a moment. And in terms of, like I said, you have this queue of rapid fire, like 60 songs per hour, 1,000 songs a day. If you're just playing a set that just rapid fire scrolls through drops, you're not giving them anything really to hold on to. And these moments are like remembered. When people walk away from the festival, they might not remember 24 bangers that came before what the fuck, but they're gonna remember that when everyone around them was yelling what the fuck, and it was like, oh shit, that's crazy.
True. What's interesting is that the moment is usually anchored by a vocal.
Yeah, it's a vocal or like a melody a lot of times.
I can't think of the drop for Mosh Pit right now. Like,
well, there's like a rap verse on top of it.
Right. Right. But anyways, I think that kind of proves the point. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. And for some songs, the moment is more important than the drop. I mean, like, what the fuck is a great example. Like, plenty of people are making edits of that now. Same with Railbreaker. I mean, to be honest, if you write a song that does well, it kind of gets played out and it gets rinsed, and people don't want to play the original pretty soon after anyway. But what you do have is you have that moment left over, and just thinking like that was new to me. And I had been in the game for years. I never thought to myself, oh, like I should make a song that's gonna like level up my career like that. It didn't even fucking occur to me. And as soon as I did, it was like, oh yeah, this is working. And that's as easy as it was. So this is about where I capped off the talk at Lost Lands. But unfortunately, 2020 has taken a giant shit on us. And all that context that I just talked about, like, the performance and the queue of thousands and thousands of tracks, like that, we don't have that right now. It's like, rest assured, it's going to come back, right? But, it's gone. Everything I said about considering the setting that your listeners are in when they're taking in your music and trying to connect with them in that state, that will be valid, and that will be a valuable concept forever. But that context is going to change. Their day-to-day lives are going to change, and as a result of that, the music they prefer is going to change. And that's a big agent of change for culture in general. It usually happens gradually. in 2020, I think we're having like a pretty radical shift, obviously, but
Mhm.
I didn't want to just leave it where I did in Lost Lands, because I want to kind of cover, the way I think culture is shifting, and how I think you can best connect with listeners now in like the new setting, if that makes sense.
Dope.
So, actually, Max, how are you listening to music this year? Like,
So I'll tell you what, man. I don't really just sit around and listen to dubstep.
honestly,
I never have though.
hate the stuff.
I spend so much time of my life, making music, because now, since I teach full time, if I'm not making Protohype tunes, I'm helping somebody else with their music. So electronic music is always consistently in my life throughout the
Yeah,
day, and
but
so
like you listen to like rap music and stuff,
I listen
right?
to
Like,
rap. I've always only
yeah.
listened to rap.
So when are you listening to rap music? Like,
So I
in what
listen to
setting?
music in the car a lot.
Yeah.
I listen to music while I'm playing basketball, which you
Uh-huh.
cannot do. Um,
Yeah.
I listen to music while I'm streaming. I basically, it's kind of limited to what you can play while you're streaming, so I basically just play the Proto Johns. But I listen to music while I'm trying to get the stream counts up, bro,
Yeah, I
and
feel
not
you. I
trying to
feel you.
get my shit muted. You know what I'm saying?
One at a time.
Exactly, one stream at a time. It takes a village.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
cooking. I see cooking. Yes, cooking,
Yeah.
cleaning,
Yeah.
cooking, cleaning.
Cleaning is good. I didn't have cleaning.
Yeah, Ashley does most of the cleaning. I'm very lucky to have her in my life. But
Nice.
I
Nice.
she listens to music while she's doing her makeup.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I would say the gym, but I haven't been hitting the gym. But yeah, that's how I do it.
For sure. For sure. So, yeah, I mean, I have most of the same in like in reference to the context. We obviously don't have live shows right now. We have live streams, which are great. I can't say the energy is quite the same, just because live music is it's just an amazing experience. But in terms of how people are listening, most of it's at home, right? Or at
Hmm.
least at the beginning it was all at home. So for me, it's like if I'm gaming, it's on in the background. I'm cooking a lot more this year. I'm sure we all are. I listen to music. Play some music in the kitchen.
You're
Um,
cooking?
I mean, it's not good, but I have
mm,
survived. I've survived this
I don't
year.
know.
Um, Another is like if I'm entertaining, like we'll invite people
True.
over
True.
on like lawn chairs in the front yard or whatever, like appropriately distanced. I'll put some music on. And of course you can just like rage to, heavy shit in your house, because it's fun to do that sometimes too.
Hmm.
But I guess the point is, that setting has changed so much, and you're trying to connect with people in such a different mindset, in such a different scenario, that it's just a different task to write music that really resonates with them. Not to say that your music has to change, and again, I want to reiterate, I'm not trying to say like you got to like forecast, trending genres, or like, be formulaic or throw creativity out the window. You can make music however you want. There are plenty of people who are doing crazy wild shit like G Jones or Rez or whoever, and they all figure out a way to still put out that bridge to connect with their fans. It can be something super, subtle, but
Mm.
you can't just not do it. So in terms of like the changes that I'm seeing, and that I expect, um, that's kind of, I guess, where I want to go based off of like that context. So I want to talk about the idea of like functionally specific music. If you think about dubstep, it's gotten harder and harder and harder and heavier, to the point where, it has a purpose. It's for like a very, very specific setting. Like if you have a row of PK subs, uh people who want to mosh, a rail, lasers, stage, all that shit, there is one music on planet Earth that is the best, and it is unanimously heavy ass dubstep. That
Mm.
is what it's for, right? But we have honed in the appeal of dubstep narrower and narrower to be more and more suitable for that setting. That's why it's so good at it. That's why it's so specified. But if you take those same songs and you try to play it at like a quinceañera or like an old person's wedding, or like even like in Vegas at a pool party with like rich people, you know, rich white people, like dubstep is not really suitable for a lot of those settings once it's like at that like blood curdling tear out crazy, you know, energy. So I think like functionally, like if you're making bass music, a broader appeal is what people are going to start responding to a lot better. Not to say it has to be so broad that it's like bubblegum pop or whatever, but
Mm.
if you consider like Wakan music, right? Like a lot of that stuff that they've curated, it's heavy enough to mosh to and be great for live, but it's also chill enough for a pregame, or you know, like chilling, cooking to it or whatever. Like a lot of it has enough vibe to still be totally, you know, fun to listen to, even when you're not trying to just like freak out to music. So I think that's the kind of music that people are already kind of gravitating towards.
Totally.
Not to say that they have just left bangers altogether. People still, you know, fuck with it. It's just I think they've definitely warmed up to less intense stuff, you know, way more. So I want to talk about like ways to make your music more like listenable, if that makes sense. Um, like to define like that term, I guess, like some music is just so intense, it's better suited to just freak out to. Like it's better to rage to some music, and it's better to like listen to some music. Like if I'm sitting down on my couch, if I'm being completely honest with you, if I'm just sitting down on my couch just trying to like, you know, smoke weed and like listen to music, I'm not gonna choose like this like super hyper intense, you know, crazy you know, dubstep banger. Like you were saying, Max, like I'm gonna choose something that's like, you know, just something that to me is more interesting to listen to. So in terms of like whether your music is suited for like absolutely raging to it, or just or like trying to be good to listen to, you can choose either. Like do you by all means, but the setting for like rage music is kind of gone this year. And there are little things you can do to make your music more fun to listen to that you probably have not thought of. And a big part of this is going to be your arrangement, right? This is not obvious to a lot of people because they haven't like consciously thought about it, but this is huge. Okay. If put yourself like back at a show, you're surrounded by like 2,000 strangers. You know, the build hits, everybody knows like this is the suspense. This is when, you know, this is when we're all like getting ready, and it's like the suspense is building, and all of a sudden you get your vocal and everybody knows we're about to go ham, and then immediately everybody knows when the drop is coming. They know to go hard right at the drop. The pit knows when to open, when to crash. And being connected with people, like totally non-verbal connections, like you are all acting together as like one organism. Like that connection is what live music is about, right? But you are informed by the music. The music is helping to dictate that behavior. It's letting you know this is when the suspense is, this is when we indulge in the drop, this is when you can take a break, like during the breakdown. So the arrangement of dance music is really pronounced in order to inform people, like, you know, when to expect what. If you think about like every 8 bars or 16 bars or whatever your loop unit is, at the end of that loop you're going to get like a little drum roll, or a little vocal sample, or like some kind of turnaround or a reverse cymbal, just to let the listener know this loop is about to repeat, or this loop is about to transition into another loop, you know. As a listener, you probably never think about it. But there are little subtle cues that are there to keep everybody on the same page when you're like dancing and like moving to music, right? And if you think about the build is so pronounced, it's so exaggerated. It's so in your face. You'd be an idiot if you didn't know a drop was coming after this, right?
Mm.
And then on top of that, you got the drop, which is like very often it's like a 1, 2, 3, like super simple. Here it comes, like spoon feeding you every inch of the song. And then of course everybody knows when the drop hits, you know. So it's all made to be predictable in order to move to as a group, right? And that's great for dance floor. That's great for like music to dance to or to rage to. If you take those same qualities and you put them in a song that you're trying to listen to, now all of a sudden you're sitting on your couch. There are no surprises. You can see everything coming a mile away. Everything is telegraphed. The arrangement is leaving nothing to the imagination. You always know what's next. You always know where the song is going. You could close your eyes and like, and, I mean, you could predict every turn, every step of the way. So at a certain point, it can be so predictable that it's like it's underwhelming. It's not intriguing anymore. It's not stimulating anymore. You're not on the edge of your seat, right? A new album that I really like is I think the debut from Tie Dye Kai. Have you heard that, by the way?
Yeah, I have.
So
He's amazing.
that is a great example. His arrangement is so fluid, right? He'll start off and he'll be singing and playing guitar, and then there'll be acoustic drums that kick in, and the build is so subtle you hardly notice it's there. And then all of a sudden you get like a Carmack style trap drop, and then it goes into like a guitar bridge. So if I was trying to dance to this with a group of people, we would all be on different pages, right? Because it's not obvious when we're going here, when we're going there. It would be just like a bunch of wooks like noodling around in their own worlds or whatever, which
Sure.
is great. But as a listener, just listening to the music at home, it's such a more vibrant experience because I don't know where it's going. Like, where is he going next? How do we get here from that? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. Every turn is unexpected. So um if you think about I mean, I'm not saying to like, rewrite your song. Like, you can take a single song and arrange it so it's great for the dance floor, and arrange it differently so it's more of an experience to listen to. Like, you don't have to jeopardize like the heart and soul of what you're creating. But I think being more creative with your arrangement and just being tricky with it and being a little more fluid with it, it lends your song to playing better and like landing, making that connection with someone who's just chilling and listening to your song. It can still be a heavy ass banger, but if it's arranged in a different way, I think actually Max, the track that you're doing with shit, you just showed it to me.
Mr. Bill?
Yeah, the track
Yeah.
like that's why I like that arrangement so much, because it like surprised me. And like, maybe at a rave, if I was DJing it, maybe I'll be like, all right, maybe I'll make an edit or whatever. But in this setting, when I'm just listening to it, I was like, that was awesome.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're totally right. And that's what, when we were working on it last night, and he was like, do we need a build up? And he was like, do we need a long build up? And I was like, only if you want to play Lost Lanes. I was like, but it's not needed. It will be
Right.
all right. I think I don't want it right now. I don't
Right.
want the build
I
up.
love how it is. I love
Yeah,
how it is.
I don't want it. I mean, there is a baby build up,
Yeah.
but it's part of another section. And you know what is interesting is that you'd be surprised how reassessing and kind of like your approach on how you arrange and write music makes you improve as a music producer. You learn, put yourself in different situations. Like, okay, cool. I'm gonna actually treat this moment between the intro and breakdown as if it's the drop, and you realize that how important those moments are, and you learn new things, and you're doing different types of sound design, and you're using different instruments, and you're it's just you it's kind of like unlocking something that you didn't realize needed to be unlocked. So I think that's
Sure.
maybe this whole quarantine thing and changing the way that music has been presented and produced is a great is making producers better. I mean, it's made me better. You've heard all the music I've made during quarantine.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
melodic, because I've been thinking that same thing. So that's a great point.
Yeah. Arrangement, I think a lot of people sleep on. Like, and it's, when learning type of environment, I think it's always useful to look at like those drastic examples and, to gain an understanding. Like, if you're trying to learn what an effect does, go all the way wet first. You just want to figure out, all right, what does this thing do? And then as you figure out, oh, okay, that's how it makes it, maybe then you start actually learning how to dial it back, and like, you really have an understanding of it. If you really want to first rate education on like how like strict and like just like just kind of awful it can be for dance music, go back to like the big room house days. It was insane. It was like every song was laid out the exact same way. It was like you could have DJ'd one of those sets. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm hating or anything, but it was just so the structure was just so set in stone, and there's plenty there's reason for that, for sure, in the setting of playing it and raving to it, it makes sense. But when you try to listen to those songs, it just felt like they needed to have another edit. And I guess a lot of those songs, they did have like a radio edit, didn't have like a club edit. And maybe that's why. Maybe it's because the arrangement that was meant for DJs to play was just so boring to listen to.
Well, it's also very long.
Maybe that's why. I don't know, I never thought about that.
Too long.
Yeah, I mean, like 30 full seconds of mixing or whatever. Anyway, I want to move on to the next, which is melody, like tonal information. In the well, first off, right, you have people consuming now more so on like streaming platforms like Spotify and stuff, more than they used to, especially more than they used to compared to lives, right? If you think, all right, rage music is more so for shows, and like more tonally significant music is more for streaming.
Pause for a second, Hayden. Your mic is like randomly glitching out. I don't know what that could be. Is your laptop charger plugged in?
Yeah, I'm charging, but I can just quit my core audio. You know what I mean? And like read that.
Yeah. You could always pop out and come back in as well, or something like that. It's the same link. If you needed to.
I have like a specific iteration of MacBook Pro where I have to do this sometimes. So
interesting. That no Mac life, it's nice. Sucks. Yeah, I was trying to make you feel better about it. I know. All right. Yeah, I thought everybody's computer was running out of battery at the same time.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We'll see if it happens again.
Okay. So we're good now?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right. Cool. All right.
Yeah, you good.
So
oh shit.
Yeah. So in the industry.
Hey, did you just turn your mic back up? Oh, sorry. Carry on.
No.
You're good. Sorry.
In the industry, you might not know this as like a fan or aspiring producer, but in the industry, it's common knowledge. Melodic music streams way better than bangers do, like on Spotify. Like they just do way better numbers. And the reason for that is they have like repeat appeal. People are just more likely to listen to those songs over and over and over again. Don't get me wrong, live bangers run shit. That's like our world. But in terms of, making music for how people are consuming it right now, that's kind of gone. So if your idea is you want to focus on maybe try to make money or whatever on streaming, or just do music that's going to work well on those streaming platforms, it's going to help you to incorporate more melody. Now, I'm not saying you have to go, Fortnite, Kids Bop, EDM, happy major scale shit. If your thing is like dirty, ugly, bass music, then don't think you can just not use melody. There are dirty, ugly scales and dirty, ugly chords, that you can use to like tonally still stick to, your sound and your identity as a producer. You just got to figure out how to do that. But the reason I think that bangers don't do as well on streaming is like, if you think about a song like Jotaro is a great example. A lot of times those types of bangers, they're built off of like a shock value. The drop hits and it's like, oh shit, like this is a different vibe, this is a different energy. I have not heard anything like this before. I mean, that song was like, it was the first of its kind, right? It sounds like two drops basically on top of each other. That's how he says he made it anyway. But before you know it, people start to riff off that idea. They get inspired by that idea. So they start making more music that sounds like that until there's more and more songs that are like in that pool. And now all of a sudden, Jotaro is getting less and less shocking. The shock value is kind of wearing off. And then after even more time, someone's taken all of that and they've built off that and they've taken it a step further. And now it's even crazier or more maximal or whatever. And so now all of a sudden that's the new song that now has shock value because this became the new normal, right? Versus a melodic song. You take a song like I Can't Stop by Flux Pavilion. People are still playing that song like, I don't know, 15 years later, however old that song is.
True.
And so melodic music is always going to connect with people in a way that gives it more longevity, especially for streaming. And if you think about it, if the same thing happens to this song as what happened to Jotaro, a million people get inspired to kind of like play with that structure, that idea. All those artists can make those songs, but only if that's the melody that got stuck in your head, I Can't Stop, there's only one song that can scratch that itch for you. It's I Can't Stop. You know what I mean? Versus if you were into like crazy bass music and crazy shock value, then Jotaro scratched that itch for you. But once that became the new normal, it didn't scratch it like it used to. And you needed something more crazy or more different or more intense. And now that's what's scratching your itch. So in terms of streaming numbers on Spotify, if you're going the hard, like sheer energy route, then there's it's almost like there's a shorter half-life on those types of songs. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting away from the point, but still kind of interesting. And lastly, I guess in terms of how the culture is changing in a response to people's setting, I think the proof is in the pudding. Like it's just naturally happening already. People are at home, they're in different environments, so naturally what they prefer is different. And you're starting to see like this burgeoning future rhythm genre bubble. And it kind of embodies a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. Like they took rhythm and they introduced all these creative arrangements and melodies, and it's like tonally, when I say tonal, I just mean like it's not like just noise, like there are notes like D sharp, A flat, whatever.
Oh God, not notes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this like rhythm kind of style, and it's more melodic, super creative with the arrangements, and it's like a broader appeal in the sense that like functionally it's not so specific. A lot of these tunes like from like More Kismet and like that whole kind of class of guys or people, you can play those tunes are plenty hard to play for like mosh pits and stuff, but they can also be played at like like pre-games or frat parties or whatever. It's just beautiful music that it's really suits right now for most listeners really well, and I think that's awesome.
Sonically intelligent. More,
Yeah, just that whole group of guys is just awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I don't know many people in the same group as More, but
No, but there's, well, I guess all of like the House Salon, House. I mean, like
Halcyon.
Voltra.
Right. Yeah. The
You
melodic
know what I
rhythm
mean?
thing. Yeah.
And
The
you know what's
Ulasal
crazy?
is leading the way.
What's crazy is
Papa Khan.
Papa Kana, of course.
God mode.
When I first started to hear a lot of or some of those types of tunes, actually to me More Kismet is like a great example of someone who kind of figured out how to connect with his audience like along the way. As I was saying before, like you can get caught up in the weeds and get caught up in like the engineering and your sound design, and before you know it, you've created a song that is so, it's like it's just so much going on. It's such a producer flex that you've kind of unknowingly you valued being impressive to other producers than making like a connection with like potential fans. I think like for me, just my personal opinion, when I first heard like stuff like More Kismet, I was like, this is amazing to listen to, but I don't know that it's viable dance music for me to play, because it's not like conveying like a concise kind of idea, which is necessary to me on a dance floor. And as more Kismet like developed, you started to see them like just refine everything and like more concisely convey that bridge
Mm.
to the fans. And now they just figured it out. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so do you want to do questions and then I'll open up the DAW?
Yeah,
Or
let's
should I do the
let's
DAW?
do some. Well, do you have something specific in the DAW that you want to do?
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to start from here just because I know that like I know a lot of people are interested in like that kind of sound, that like future rhythm vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna try to just show kind of an interesting way to to get some of those types of sounds.
Yeah.
But maybe before we do that, if anybody has any questions about like just like the I don't know, like the qualitative stuff that I was just talking about.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let me pull up some of the questions from the Discord channel, and we'll just answer a few of the ones that are non-production related real quick.
Cool.
Well, you know what? If you have something producer wise that you want to talk about, then we can talk about that.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna hit play on this. Just
go ahead.
fair warning. I want you to be ready in case it's like crazy loud. It's just a kick and a clap.
The meterings. We ready? Okay, you got to change your output.
True.
Based on a true story. All right.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Audio. Okay.
You got to share your computer audio.
Yeah, I definitely already did that. Hold on.
Just reshare.
All right, I guess I have to.
Yeah, just unshare and then just do reshare.
New share?
Mm-hmm. Well, there should be a little red joint that says stop sharing.
Yeah, but I think I can just... Here, we'll see if this works.
No.
No? All right, I'm gonna stop it.
Just stop it.
I'm gonna...
Okay, hold on. Yeah, remember guys, if you want to hit the questions, drop them in the Discord. Q&A corner. Shout out to everyone who's pulled up. Shout out to HeRobust.
Yo, my Ableton is obviously set to Zoom, but does my like computer shit? Oh, that's on Zoom.
Yeah,
okay.
it should be the same when you click share.
Yeah. No, it should be good now. So I guess I'm gonna make like a kind of like a future rhythm example,
Okay.
I guess.
What a cool desktop background. Yeah, totally. I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. Well, let these things. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you see my screen right now?
I can.
Like, it's Ableton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There we go. You're good.
Perfect. All right. Cool.
Good levels.
All right. So I'll just do this while you're gone then.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sure it'll be done by the time I'm back in 5 minutes.
Cool. Yeah. So, to me, I'm not like a future rhythm producer, but to me, what kind of is defining that sound is, rhythm is based on like cadence and rhythm and kind of like a percussive, vibe, for lack of a better word. But future rhythm keeps that percussive nature, but it does it with like chords and melodies still incorporated. So I'm gonna be a lot of people like are used to like gating chord progressions and stuff with like like filter sweeps or volume automation. And I just wanted to show, because I like to try to show like more just creative, interesting ways to do things. Just want to show you a different way to kind of gate chords or anything really, that I think plays really well with like that kind of future rhythm sound. So here we go. I got one channel. I'm gonna call this for chords. I call this the gate. And if you've never seen this before, I highly recommend you try out Reason, because it's fucking awesome.
Hayden out here preaching for the Reason gang.
It's great. I mean, look at this. You drag it in. Have you seen this? You drag it into Ableton, and it's like a plugin now.
What, as a full rewire or?
No, there's no rewire anymore.
No way, it's like a VST?
It is just like a VST.
It is a VST.
It's,
oh, okay.
It's the best. There's no excuse now. Everyone should use it. It's great.
Wow. What's the ticket
Yes.
for it?
I don't know.
Like fat 4 hundo maybe, or is this is just VST access only?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. I could look it up, but if you message them, I'm sure they would
Sean says it's $2.99.
license your account.
Let me get that.
You got this poppin' Twitch now.
Oh.
All right, so I just got a regular saw. Right, tried and true. I'm just trying to do chords like super fast, so I'm gonna use one of these like MIDI chord helper guys.
Oh. Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm Protohype.
You wish.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write just a quick chord progression, and then I'm going to I'm gonna like gate it in kind of like that rhythm style or whatever. Yeah. Okay. I'm still learning like all the little.
Bro, did you know Ableton added the capture, the post MIDI capture thing, that if you're not recording and you just play notes? I just found out about last night on the Mr. Bill stream. It's really dope.
Oh, like if it's like before you hit record, it's like
no, just like if you were right now, just hit that boom 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 boom, and like you forgot to hit record, you hit like Control Shift C, I think it is, and it just captures the whole thing. So cool.
I think Ableton has a feature where if you're just like fucking around and not recording, all of a sudden like it's like low key recording all the time.
Yes.
So
Ableton is listening.
Exactly. That's like the Big Brother Amazon.
No, I don't want to think that Ableton is Big Brother. No, but you're right.
They are, bro.
All right.
So
hey, we have a quick production question that involves what you're doing right now. Do you use a compressor for side chaining or volume shaper?
I use just the Ableton utility.
Swag.
That's what I use, and you'd be surprised. A lot of people use it. A lot of people use it. The reason I don't like using some plugins is because in Ableton, if you go in here and you have like reduced latency when monitoring or like delay compensation, sometimes these things can give you like just milliseconds of delay on kind of like those like MIDI driven sidechain devices. And at an early stage of production, I never would have been able to hear it, but being years and years in the game, training my ear, being OCD about every little detail, like I can hear it. And when you're trying to compete with Zomboy, not that I'm competing with Zomboy, but when you're trying to get on that level, like you can't spare little milliseconds around your drums. You know what I mean? Like you need it perfect.
I don't think anyone compete with Zomboy.
Exactly.
Sadly.
I mean, another thing, like look how much control I have. If I want to duck, if I want to duck the second just before the drum, that's as easy as it is. That's it's easy to like alleviate all sorts of popping issues and stuff, all that. So I'm gonna take these three. Get out of here, bro. I'm gonna take these 3 notes just to make it more full. I'm gonna copy these and just do them an octave lower. So now this is what we have. Okay, great. It's beautiful. We're geniuses.
Mm.
So now I'm gonna throw, because remember, I'm trying to gate this, and not with volume, not with, filter sweeping or anything. I'm throwing a vocoder on this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send a signal into that vocoder. So right now, if I hit play, you won't hear the chords anymore at all, right? Because there's no signal that's going in there. I'm gonna make this monophonic, make it like a sine, and I'm gonna send this signal into here. And in order to actually trigger it from the gate, I'm gonna put one of these, what are they?
External instrument?
External instrument, yeah. And
It'd be
on chords.
pointing MIDI in different directions.
Exactly. Exactly. Does everybody understand that part? Because I know that part's kind of weird.
It's a little complicated.
But anyway, now fuck y'all. Now when I trigger MIDI, you can see it's triggering here. This is what the spectrum of this synth, this note with the sine wave, that's what that looks like, right? And so this is what's going to gate and dictate which frequencies come through of the chords. And like a lot of this rhythm stuff, like it's not just rhythm, it's also kinds of has like a percussive nature to it, right? So we're going to try to affect this synth in a way that we're getting like kind of like plucky drum kind of percussive joints. And if you don't know, the way drums work is they're from top to bottom, so on this spectrum, they hit from right to left. You start with like the click up here of the kick, and then you see this kind of wave going down, and then you like the big hump is like the bass. I'll show you. Right, that's kind of how it goes from right to left. If you already knew that, congratulations. But I'm just trying to explain shit because some people don't know.
You're good, man. I would say stick to layman's terms.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So what I have to do is take this picture with mainly like this peak, and I'm gonna try to make it go from right to left, just like the drum looked. So in order to do that, I'm gonna take an envelope, a mod envelope, which exists here, and I'm gonna make it dictate the pitch of this sine wave. So now when I play it, you see how it waves down like that. That would be way too slow of a drum, right? So we're gonna make it go faster, and how it jumps down. And this frequency, I doubt that's low enough. So let's lower this. So now this is looking more like our kick drum. And to make sure we're getting full spectrum, I'm gonna go even higher. So now you see we're jumping down. We're jumping down pretty good. And now I'm gonna let you hear what it sounds like when I play it. And as I trigger this, right? So now we have this, and we can hone this in however we want. And all these different settings of different numbers of bands, they will sound different. So if I throw like, most of your rhythm stuff is gonna have like cool kind of delays and shit. If I throw, this is kind of like a granular delay unit thing. Some of these, you'll hear pretty instantly. It'll start to sound like, just like kind of like that percussive, but yet melodic, kind of future rhythm.
Are these racks that you've made this rhythm with? Okay, gotcha.
So you can hear like you're getting that like plucky, kind of like rhythm, whatever, and you can make any shape you want with the mod envelope to make it, go up and down however you want. Or you could just take a sampler and put that into here instead of a synth. Um, but that's like that's just a new way that I've been kind of gating.
1 second. I'm just gonna scroll through these questions real quick.
Yeah.
I think some people are a bit confused about the utility automation and just.
Oh, okay.
I think just explain the concept of volume shaping using utilities. Maybe go into that.
Okay. Like just sidechain compression.
Well, instead of like why you would do that instead of using the Ableton sidechain.
Oh, yeah. So the Ableton sidechain, what it's gonna do is here. I'll take this off. Compressor. Basically, I mean, you know how the sidechain works. I'll just do both. So this is showing the signal of the drums. If I lower the threshold to be engaging it, this is the ratio determines how much you turn it down by. And these two are like the times of when it kicks in and how it like releases. Basically, if I have a sound that I don't want it to be playing at the same time as the kick, I can use this. And this is gonna help to duck my chords. But if you look at how long it takes to go back, even if you put your release at 0, it's really hard to get your compression to be super, super fast. And with the volume shaper, not only can you make it as fast as you need it to be, but you can visually see it. Like I can see this wave and I can know exactly when the volume dies off. Like technically I know I could slide this up to here because the kick is technically done there. That's nothing I ever could have been able to do with a regular compressor. Like on top of that, I'll show you something even crazier. If I take like
What's up, Partica?
If I take this and I split this 3 ways, so now I'm seeing I have my high on one channel, my mid on another channel, my low on another channel. If I really wanted to multi-band, if I wanted to like multi-band sidechain, you can freeze and flatten this to audio. And so like this was my full kick. This is the whole thing. This is the high end. You see how the high end is really short?
Mm.
So if I was multi-band sidechain compressing, I know my high end only needs to be ducked for a split second,
Mm-hmm.
compared to the low, which needs to be ducked a lot more. The mid here is also pretty short. The mid would end like here. And you'll see the low, or whoops, maybe that was, make sure this is the low. No, that was good. Okay. You see how the low, there's no information in the beginning. It's all at the end. So technically I could have this same setup with the multiband and have 3 different utilities here and be sidechaining them differently to accommodate exactly where my drums are and like where, when the high, mid, and low ends, if that makes sense. Like you don't even need to, you see how this sidechain starts right away? That means I'm ducking my sub content, my low content before I even need to, because here there is no sub yet, really.
Right.
I mean, that's, but yeah, just in general, using the utility, it just gives me more control, and it allows me to use more like of a visual aid.
Well, and also it doesn't involve compression,
right?
Which I think that a lot of people don't understand. But
it's like probably a big part of your job teaching people what compression is.
Well, yeah, it is, man. It's about drawing pictures, and I draw a lot of pictures. I'll tell you that, man.
Dude,
Compression is best explained with pictures. I will
there
tell you that.
there are some amazing producers that get amazing results that I can tell you still do not understand what compression does.
Totally. I mean, it's
Crazy.
like that's because compression is something that's a little complicated without someone really explaining it to you. But
Yeah.
I think drawing pictures is the best way to know. I feel like I kind
For
of teach.
sure. I think compression is easier to teach if you're mixing like rap music or pop music or music where it's used like the way it's supposed to be used, like very subtle.
Traditional compression, like on a
Yeah.
vocal or right.
Yeah.
Not sidechain compression.
In EDM, we just crank everything up so high. It's like it's hard to learn that way, in my opinion. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question about
Yeah, I think it
the
did.
utility. Okay.
Carter was asking about the routing with if you routed a saw through a sine wave.
Okay, so that's a great question. Or you mean if I used a saw instead of a sine here?
I forget where the scroll was at. I think he might have figured it out, but just about the routing.
Yeah. Well, if just in case this was the question, I used a sine here because it's like frequency wise, it's like the skinniest, you know, like it's just the fundamental. There's not a lot of harmonics. If I use the saw here, now it's getting all these other frequencies. You see what I mean? So even if I swipe down, the swipe is really broad versus a skinnier. It's like using a skinnier bandpass versus a thicker one. I just knew that a skinnier one would work better.
Right. Yeah. So his question is, you're pumping two things into the vocoder.
Yeah. So the way you traditionally use a vocoder is you would have like a synth going into it, maybe playing chords, and then you'd have like your vocal going in on the other side, right?
Right.
So here's your carrier, which these are the chords that we wrote, and the modulator here, that would usually be a voice. You see how there's like a little microphone right there? So usually it is a voice, but I like to throw synths or samplers in there because in this instance, we didn't want it to sound like a voice. We wanted it to sound like a drum. You know, we want it to sound like percussive in nature.
That's pretty meta.
And dude, here, honestly, I kind of like, I think you could use this in your music too. Cause like, look, if I take that off and I put this on a group, like you could take that chord and now you can add a melody on it. And you're like the melody dude, right? So I
appreciate that title.
Yeah, you have been. So if I solo this and try to play this melody guy, whoops. I'm just gonna record a quick shitty melody over this to show you something real quick.
Sure.
Okay, great. It's not, it's not the best. It's not prototype quality, but
Stop.
You'll see as I gate this, you're going to hear the chords and the melody come through, and the phrasing of the melody is totally independent from the phrasing of the gate.
Because basically your melody is what would traditionally be your modulator. Is what you're saying. So instead of using a vocal, you're writing your own vocal with MIDI?
Well, instead of using a vocal, I'm sending like a percussive sound through instead, because I want it to sound like a plucky drum.
Sure.
But you'll see what I mean. I can choose any cadence I want with this gate right now, and the melody phrasing is completely independent of that, and you'll be able to hear the melody in little bits. So you see, I get to have.
I can't do that though because then I would sound like HeRobust. It sounds like a HeRobust track.
But I'm trying to like
no,
cover,
it's
like,
sick.
broad concepts
Totally,
that like
totally.
anybody can use and make their own. But
Yeah.
what I thought was cool about it is that plucky percussive shit, you get that kind of like rhythm vibe to it, but you still have this very lush tonal melodic situation that's kind of within the cadence or whatever. And that, I guess that's just the appeal of future rhythm in general. But I think this is a cool way to do it.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that people are just a bit confused because it's not the Ableton vocoder. But I think the point here,
shit.
I think the point here is that you can use instead of basically the carrier would be a synth.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think, I mean, I can try to do it with the Ableton vocoder.
I'm gonna pull up while you're doing that. I'm gonna pull up some of these questions, and not all of them will be
sure.
production related. But here's a question from Justin that says, "How do you get?" This is a bit broad question, but how do you get your drops to sound full and not muddy?
Not muddy. So here is.
I think you should do a rundown on Span and how you use it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me throw a song in here. Real quick. I'll mute these. I'm not going to delete them just in case somebody ends up asking a question about it.
Totally.
Oh, whoops.
Shout out to everyone who's been hanging out this whole time. Shout out to HeRobust.
We out here, man.
We're literally inside, but still out here.
We are.
Dang. Shout out.
Let's see. Just looking for a song here. All right. Here we go. Just a random.
Out here.
Pulled a random song here.
Oh, so random. Oh my god. Volume sounds good except for that metronome raging.
Oh yeah, my bad. My bad. Okay, so I recommend fully, this is the plugin that I recommend for visualizing your frequencies when you're mixing, mastering, whatever. This is
and
the
it's
one
free.
yeah, it's free. Anyone can get it, and I think it's really useful. I'll explain it a little bit. So first off, you're seeing two different versions of the signal. That's because one is the mid signal and one is the side. It's very cool that you can view those independently and overlapped of each other. Also, the correlation meters here. I mean, it has all the standard stuff. Something that I really like a lot is this average time knob. It can go so fast. It can go so fast.
I usually rock that 1400. Oh god.
So you see how fast it is, and it's fast enough if you were to like loop your kick drum to see exactly, you know, where it's hitting. But you can make it slow enough to still give you valuable information if you're looking at like a full song. So when in terms of making a full sounding song, I don't know how far along you are in your production journey, but you know, you want to have as many of the frequencies filled up as you can. You want this whole thing from left to right basically to be full. I mean, that's a stupid thing to say, but like that's kind of how it is. There are certain frequency ranges that are kind of unanimously not super cool. If you use the word like muddy, usually that's associated with like a low mid, like maybe like 400. You know, like if your mix down as a whole sounds muddy, you can dip around 400. And if you watch, that would be like right here. It's 400s right there. If you ever have kind of like a nasally characteristic, that means you have kind of an issue with like your higher mids. I mean, often like I'll take my master and I'll EQ up and down and all these like kind of problematic ranges like that. And if I start to notice one of those characters, like, oh yeah, it actually does kind of sound nasally, you know, when I remove this or whatever. That's kind of one of the ways I know I need to dip one of those problematic regions. But you want your shit to be full spectrum, you know, aside from a certain problematic bands. Like if you Google the is it Frederick Munson, something Munson curve?
Fletcher Munson.
Fletcher Munson curve.
It could be Frederick. It could be his middle name.
No, Fletcher.
I know it's Fletcher. Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's your job.
Oh.
But yeah, so if you Google that, there's this curve that basically shows like anatomically, because of the way our ears are shaped, we are more sensitive to certain frequencies than others. And like around like, what is it, like 3.3 or 3.4 or whatever, that's like the most sensitive. You know, so you can afford to have that be quieter than the rest of your mix down. So typically a mix down will look, well, it should look like this.
Oh yeah.
So let me freeze this. So this is really nice. What you usually see is like a strong peak over here, and it dips in the low mids here. A, because some of those, that's where some of your mud is going to come from. B, because a lot of times you're scooping out that space to make room for, you know, the weight of your drums, like your kick drum could be around there, or your snare if you're making like super bro step, you know, kind of 200 hertz snares. And then it's going to curve back up to go high again on your high end. So I don't mean to say it needs to be like flat and straight across, you know, there is kind of a dip. And what I recommend you do if you're really trying to get full masters is run some of your favorite songs through Span, get to a loud part of the drop and hit hold like this and just take a screenshot, you know, get familiar with the shapes that, you know, that are pleasing to your ear. Or especially if you get to play live in clubs and you know, like, man, this song always goes off and I don't really understand why. There must be something good about this mix down. You know, take a picture, analyze it in as many ways as you can, honestly, and it will start to help you piece together a picture of, you know, what a good mix down looks like. And as you're working on yours, you just try to, you know, carve it out to achieve that.
I mean, like, I think Span, again, in just addition to what you're saying, is great for giving your ears like a millisecond break to use your eyes to mix. Like for just a heartbeat, you know, like after you pull in 18 tracks of the same genre and at a specific setting, you're going to see that sub hits at -30 most of the time at full volume. So like that's one of the things that I use it a lot for is just to get my sub level right. And then after that, you can mix everything up to your sub. I feel like that's a very valuable tool. And it's the most slept on, like.
Yeah, I mean there are good visualizers out there, but Span is so good and it's free. Yeah,
it's free. That's the most important part.
Good. It's crazy good. So yeah, hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up some of these questions. This one we'll see. Oh, there's a lot of questions here. Someone says, do you feel like you can only release bass-centric tunes, or you just do whatever you feel like?
I feel like I can release, I feel like I can release whatever I want. Not because I think that's like what's best for my business. Obviously, it's best for HeRobust to put out music that, you know, the fans want, but you know, you gotta release what you want, you know. I also think, you know, all of us are guilty of not really knowing what's best for us. And when fans like come at artists and they're like, we want you to do this, like we miss the old this and we want you to stick to this. They think that's what they want. But the truth is, if an artist gave them that over and over and over again, they would get bored of it. The only way to really have a long life as an artist is to continue to grow and evolve in ways that your fans continue and grow to love as well. Because you guys would get bored if I just kept on putting out the same type shit. You would get bored of it. So I mean, to some extent, you can't not take that risk. You can't not experiment. Especially now, it's like the excuse used to be, oh, because live, nobody wants to hear anything but the hardest shit ever. And now it's like, well, live is gone. So if you were bitching and moaning about not getting to make whatever you wanted to all those years, and now it's like off to the races, make the weirdest, craziest shit ever, because nobody's headbanging at the rail right now. Oh, you know what I thought of? We were talking about like functionally specific, about like, dubstep and whatever. Consider lo-fi chill beats to study to. That shit blows my mind. It is so functionally specific. It's in the name of like the genre, bro. That's crazy.
Lo-fi beats to study to.
Yes, bro.
It should be one word. It's one word.
Bro, if you think about it, it makes sense. Like when I remember studying in college, and I would always listen to music without words. And in my mind, I was like, I'd kind of deduced like the part of my brain that's dealing with language is trying to read this book, but I'm getting distracted because I'm hearing these rappers talk about other shit in the background. So that part of my brain is kind of like distracted and not being able to totally focus on what I needed to focus on. Mm-hmm. That music is good for that context because it's low key background, and most importantly, like has no words. Like that's why it is. That's a perfect example of somebody making music for a specific setting, and like knowing like I can connect with you with this content because this is what you're doing at that time. Like that's just such a specific example.
Totally. Yeah, I'm basically just the secret agenda behind Underdog is just to create a platform to which I can just create and release lo-fi music and make $1 million off streaming.
Yeah, I mean, I see people joke about how much they make. I don't know how much they make, but I'm glad they're getting paid, because that's really similar to the music that I started off making in my like, beginnings. It was like all down tempo hip hop stuff. So I actually
totally.
like some of the guys I used to play like shows with are making money off those type playlists now. So it's mm-hmm. I'm stoked to see them eating.
All right, let's ask just a random one for you. It's from Squad. Yeah. What's your favorite memory from your first international tour?
My first international tour. I'm trying to remember where the first. Well, I'm sure probably my first international shit was probably in Canada. But you probably mean like crazier.
Yeah, like, let's go bigger than that.
Going to Australia, and being on the other side of the planet, and having people greet you with like your shirt, like HeRobust merch.
Crazy.
It's mind blowing. Like you make all this music and like, like in my mom's basement or like, whatever. And it's like, it's all coming out of this laptop. And even though your goal is to like make fans and go travel and do these things, like, I don't know, in a way, it's like you never expect it to like actually happen. It's like this like fairy tale unfolding before you when it does. So yeah, just to see that it's like actually working, and like people have connected with my music and like they've incorporated it into their lives. It's just, it's a beautiful thing, and the music is so much bigger than you, like once it's in other people's lives like that, like it's just such a cool thing.
Love that. So true. All right, let's see what we got.
What's yours? What's for like early travel international stuff?
Oh man, actually Squab, who's one of our mods, is I met him on my first international tour with Getter. We did 3 different spots in France. We did
Oh wow.
We did Porto. We did 2 spots
Wait,
in Portugal.
Was Trollface on that?
No, it was me. Well, it was me and Getter, but then we also went like when we were in Paris, Megalodon played the show, but and when we were in 2 of the shows, Bear Noise was on it. But it was mainly just me and Getter. I have so many memories from that tour. We were supposed to go to Athens, but we couldn't because the promoter got killed.
Oh my god.
Like the night before we were supposed to go there by like on some crazy hate crime CNN news type shit.
Wow.
I saw a girl get her finger cut off in France, like on the rail.
Oh
Like
my
donk. The promoter came out of the club with like a ice bucket made for like to hold his champagne bottle.
Oh my god.
But
bro.
it was just like a finger coming out of the ice. It was
That's insane.
insane.
Did
Trip.
Did you keep up with her? Like, did you figure out if like they reattached it?
I mean, I saw her get into the whip.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's crazy. They really can put that shit back on.
But you know that was 10 years ago, and I bet she got it back on, and now she's gonna like look at her finger and be like,
yeah,
God damn you. Man, so many memories like from that.
I got a friend that sawed his like whole hand off, like across his palm, like this.
What?
And all of his fingers, bro, all of them, and
all the digits.
Bro, I mean, it was like they had to do like several surgeries or whatever and put it back together. But
he's good.
Like he can type, he can do everything with his fingers.
Good.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Thing, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. I think my favorite. This isn't like the first international trip, but my favorite international trip ever was when I went to Japan.
Oh yeah.
And that changed my life forever. I mean, inside of me is a small Japanese boy, and that was just amazing. That was the best trip ever. And there's so many trips to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
That are just like a lot of things I can't talk about.
For sure.
A lot of just like incredible memories. And it like honestly, I'm getting kind of angry talking about it because I miss it so dearly.
For sure. I mean, it's all gonna come back.
Oh, it's coming back. All right, cool. Let's see. That question was answered. Let's see. When you were learning how to do professional mix downs, where did you see guidance aside from your own ears/eyes and reference tracks? There's a gap between referencing a mastered track and leveling/EQing your own. So how did you cover that distance? Good question.
I don't know. That's a pretty tough. That's a tough question. So I started producing when I was like very, very young. So
hey, why don't you exit out of the share?
Of the. Yeah. Oh right, true.
Yeah, we'll just chat it.
Cool. Is that?
Yeah, good deal.
I started producing when I was like super, super young. So that was actually like a long ass time ago, and there were essentially no resources to learn. Yeah. So the honest answer is I just butchered mix downs for years and like didn't even know. Like the first beat I made was on an MPC. It was like not even on a computer. So you couldn't even EQ it if you wanted. Not that I knew what that even was at the time. It was all about like sample selection, choosing samples that didn't overlap frequency wise. Anyway, so long story short, I basically just fucked it up for years. And mind you, I'm not even playing shows, you know, so you don't even really notice. But when I did started playing shows, my first tour was with
we need to reshare your the robot Hayden is coming back, so we need to do whatever you did before with the microphone ting.
All right, yeah, give me a second.
I mean, it worked last time, just a little ting.
No, this is my life.
Yo, everyone go donate $2 to HeRobust Venmo.
Seriously,
Hayden Dash Kramer. No one has any money, so I feel if you don't, but we don't have money either. But this is priceless intel right now. You know what what you spoke about tonight.
Oh, I thought you would say the fact that HeRobust has a busted ass laptop too.
Oh, I was thinking what you were thinking is just giving away your Venmo. Now you can get to hit the request all day. No, I mean, it would just be ironic if one more thing in your life was busted. It's just on brand.
It is.
Hold on.
I want to answer that question though. Like,
yeah. Go ahead.
For me, I was on that first tour and playing shows with OPO, that was the first time I really experienced firsthand, um, like what the difference is between like, uh, having a really, really clean mix down and not having it. I
Mm.
saw other, me and like, other openers or whatever. Like I could hear the difference between my shit and their shit. And like some nights my shit would hit properly, and some nights it I could tell it wouldn't. But his was just consistent.
Opio? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, just
Oh
very
my
clean,
god, yeah.
very clean.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had the little pauses before every drum and like all that stuff.
Mm.
So that's when I realized, okay, I need to level up. I need to take this seriously. And just like I said before, people like Max and I, we have these luxuries in the sense that we get to play in clubs, we get to play in front of crowds all the time. So for a bedroom producer to, you know, make a song to the best of their ability and then throw it in the car and test the mix down in the car, and like that's the best idea they can really get of it. Don't get me wrong, I did that for years, but that doesn't compare to me being able to go out on the road in a weekend and play in Phoenix, Tucson, Albuquerque, and hear it on 3 different like big ass systems. So every time in the hotel room, I'm like, okay, last night was a little bit boomy. Maybe I need to, duck this frequency band or whatever. And so it's a process. I don't know very many producers that nail their mix downs like on the first try, because we all get to go out and test it on the road.
Dude, and like having the luxury of being able to be like, hey, can I get that flying in early? Let me get that 6 p.m. sound check. And I got my laptop with me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For the longest time I did not do sound checks because I don't know why. I was too cool, or I didn't have enough money to fly in early, or I don't know what it was, but the amount of production I do the night before the show, and then you're like, all right, cool, this is ready. Put the session on the laptop, take it with you early, get in. Like that's the most blessed reference ever.
Right. So that's probably not a very useful answer to your question, but
Well,
that is how I've done it. And also actually there's a new feature on like the isotope shit.
oh, and fuck that shit. You're
What?
talking about the
Tonal
reference
balance.
master tone. Okay, tonal balance is fine.
Yeah,
But
the tonal balance is really cool. Tell them about that. So because
yeah, so tonal balance is dope. Basically, what you can do, like what I did a few years ago, and I don't actually know how effective this is, but was my approach to tonal balance. Tonal balance basically will just analyze the way that a waveform looks in an attractive way. But what I did, you can just import any waveform into it, and then it'll look at it and be like, okay, cool, this is what it looks like.
But not just one waveform.
Right.
You can take 100 of your favorite songs and put them all in there, and
Well,
it kind of like it learns from all of them and like kind of makes an average.
right. Well, that's what I did. Was I took my favorite dubstep drops. I took Zomboy, Sultan, Virtual Riot, all through the keys of D to
Right.
G basically, and just had the drops in there, bounced them all into one MP3, and then imported that MP3 or wave into tonal balance, and it creates this wicked shape that, I mean, again, it's just an advanced version of referencing in span, I think, but
Yeah, it is.
it's still very effective. But yes, I mean, I think basically mainly the question was just where do you learn to level up mixing? I think that I get asked this question all the time. I think one thing I always tell people is Mr. Bill Ableton shit, $10 a month, so much great knowledge there.
Yeah.
And something that has really emerged since COVID is learning through watching other people produce music on Twitch.
Totally.
That's the best way, bro. And pick somebody who you don't make music like somebody like Bauer. Bauer's always on Twitch, just with the fucking heat all day, every day. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. Try and learn a genre that makes you feel weird and that you don't really, it doesn't feel easy for you. And I think you learn like that. But
right.
other than
That's totally true, man, because I see like we had Virtual Riot, a few years ago, who went, kind of crazy with all the, the presets and tutorials and stuff. And then you had like a whole class, a whole generation of dubstep guys that sounded just like Virtual Riot. And, they're all, you know, good. They all make good music, but to some extent it's just harder for them to be unique, you know, because they're all coming from the same place. And now I feel like I see the same thing kind of surrounding Company a little bit.
Totally.
He's so good. He's, you know, he's great to learn from. Um, but you know, if you watch it and then your goal is to just make music like Company, I feel like it's so much more useful. Let's say if you were like a bass house guy and you were like applying Company techniques to making bass house, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, well, you're really bringing something new into that space. Like that's
Totally.
really cool. So if you're a dubstep guy, that makes total sense. You would watch Bauer and get some kind of crazy sampling techniques that aren't being used in dubstep right now.
Right.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
I
that's
can
cool.
just speak for myself personally that like for a while I feel like, to be completely honest, I hit a bit of a plateau as a producer, and kind of this was like a fall on my own, just like kind of got comfortable a little bit and started to
For sure.
feel like it was kind of, I was falling off, and it was because I was. And it wasn't until I really made a conscious effort to learn from other people that I started to get better, and feels like I'm, you know,
Right.
I saved it just in time, in
Yeah.
the nick of time. But it's about the constant addiction to knowledge, and
Yeah.
and leveling up. Like I read plugin manuals now,
Right.
which
Right.
is like something I would have never thought to do before. Like
Yeah.
I'd be out here like learning, reading, you know, reading plugins that I like my favorite plugins. Oh, I've never read the manual. I'm gonna read this, and like, oh, you have this distortion plugin. This is how you do tonal like shit in a distortion plugin. There's so much that
Right.
lives out there. It's really about, do you have the grind, and
Yeah.
it's
Totally.
there. It's all there.
Yeah.
It's just digging, man, and reading.
Mhm.
Like,
If some of your like some of your viewers think that, like, you know, we get here and we just know all there is to know and we're done and now we're professional, like
mm,
that's not how it works. Every year there's a new young like 15, 16-year-old kid who comes up and just like levels up the game,
yeah,
and you gotta learn or else you're gonna get left behind like quick, you know.
totally.
And part of, you know, you think it's hard to break in to the industry, it's even harder to stay in.
Right. And
And
how easy is it to get put out?
right. And not that that's a bad thing, but you have to have a very positive relationship with learning. You have to really be hungry to get better and to continue learning. You know, because then it's always fun. You know, it's always opportunity to get better and you know, make your art better. And that's you know, that's what I love to
I
do.
agree. I think the hunger for knowledge is what keeps you in the game or puts you out of the game, or lack thereof, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see what else we got here. Um let's see. That's another fuller question. Um how do you continue to find inspiration? And what do you do when you feel stuck?
Man, I feel like I got bad answers to a lot of these questions. When I am stuck, like I am not a firm believer
Ah,
in like take time to sharpen the blade, you know, like pull away from the task to like focus on something else and then come back to it later. That's not what I do. I just hammer away or, you know, keep sawing with a dull ass blade. I just keep going, keep going, keep going. And you know, some days I sit in this room. You can't see right now because of the background, but I'm in my studio. Some days I sit in here and I log 14-hour days, and I leave this room, I have nothing to show for it,
mm,
absolutely nothing. But some days I log 14-hour days, and it's like I started like 5 songs today. Today, you know, you were on it. The thing about creative stuff, in my opinion, is like when it rains, it pours. Like you never know when the vibe is going to be really right, and you're just going to have like a potent perspective that you're creating from.
mm,
And so if lightning could strike at any time, I'm just trying to have maximum exposure. So I'm just in here logging hours so I catch as many lightning strikes as possible.
that's true.
I will say this in terms of productivity, if if I am like trying to write music, like I'm trying to write cool chords and melodies, if I'm not making progress there, I will totally switch gears and just do a sound design day,
Mm,
because they're different parts of your brain.
Yeah.
You know, like so if this isn't clicking over here, maybe I'll try this. And if sound design isn't working, maybe I'm just going to process drums and prep drums to use them later when I actually do start writing. So if I really do stall out, I try to do other tasks that can still be productive, because when that lightning strikes, I want to be able to write and I want to be able to go. And sometimes that's the difference in getting 3 songs out of a hot week instead of just one, because you've done all that like sous chef prep work type shit in your downtime when you were kind of stuck.
Totally.
So
I,
that's probably a
I
better
think it's
answer.
definitely about compartmentalizing your production days.
Yeah.
Like if you still want to put in the hours, but you aren't able to write melodies, or even if you're not able to do sound design, then I think sample organization or
Yeah, that's true
just
too.
there are different ways to still do work in the studio without, you know, rushing what's going on.
Also keeping in mind how fatigued your ears are is really
Mhm.
important. Like I'm not going to start a session sampling or organizing samples, you know, but if I'm in a mastering day and I've really been, you know, turning the shit up too loud, you know, for too long, I'm gonna resort to some being productive in a way that's not as loud, like, you know, organizing samples or something like that. Because
Mm.
once your ears are shot, like if I tried to do a mastering session and then I went on to then try to, you know, process a bunch of drums, like I would probably have to redo a lot of that sometimes if my ears are totally fried. Like you don't realize how sloppy you actually are until you hear it later with fresh ears.
Right. All right. We'll do a few more, and we're coming up on 2 hours here, so you probably got to roll out soon. Have there been times where experimenting with sound design has allowed you to expand on an idea for a song?
Every time.
Yeah.
That's how I start a song.
Okay.
Like people ask me like, do you start with the vocal? Do you start with the drop or whatever? I start with sound design, and from there I just try to sound design until I have something that's just like undeniably like this is crazy. There's no way I can fail with this sound because it's just too crazy. And often if that sound lends itself to like a theme, like if it sounds like something, like when I made Dirty Work, the first sound I made was that main lead that kind of sounds like an engine or like a motor or like a crank or whatever. So I made that sound and I was like, okay, that's cool. Maybe, you know, it sounds kind of like Power Tools or whatever. Maybe I can reverse engineer a song incorporating samples of, you know, like Power Tools and make the vocals about, you know, work or whatever. You know, like I
Yeah.
totally reverse engineered it from that
Genius.
one sound. Um, and so that way the tune ends up having that kind of synergy.
Totally. Do you keep a catalog of your own samples to use for later, or do you stick with what happens in the spur of the moment?
I used to never do that. But in this quarantine, as I've been watching our peers and watching other Twitch production streams, I've seen how useful it can be to save your own samples, basically mainly in terms of audio. I've my whole career I've done all of my sound design with synthesis, not mangling audio at all. And now all of a sudden I watch like Tynan and Company, and it's like Tynan sometimes doesn't use synthesis at all. It's like all texture warping and like
Sure.
more OTT and then more texture warping. And so now that I've kind of seen like, oh wow, there's a lot of potential in just, you know, manipulating audio. It's like this whole new world for me to kind of apply to the already kind of interesting sounds that I'm getting out of synthesis. So I never used to do it before. I started now. I think it's actually a good idea in terms of writing music quickly. It's just nice to have, just the same way that I pre-process drums to use later. It's nice to have like, you know, mid basses and growls and stuff that are just like ready to go. Um, yeah.
Okay. I'll do a few more here.
Are all the questions in your Discord?
Yeah.
What
I
do
have
you?
one. I have a question for me. This is a
Yeah.
good. What would current HeRobust tell 21-year-old HeRobust?
Um, I would tell. I think I would tell myself this is something that I've the way I like live my life. I feel like I have these different eras of having like realizations over and over and over.
Mm.
Like recently I've been having this one thought, and it's like when you party, like technically when you're partying, you're like celebrating something, you know? And when you party, just keep in mind what it is that you're celebrating. It doesn't have to be something huge. It could be as little as like, yo, I haven't seen my friend Max in a year. I haven't seen my friend Max in a while. I'm going to see him this weekend. We're going to go in. I'm going to party. I'm going to have fun with Max or whatever.
Mm.
Not only does that prevent you from partying when like you really have no reason to party, but more importantly, it's going to make partying better when you do party because you're focusing on what's actually important at that time. You know what I mean? Like if me and my manager, my whole team, if we get the booking of our lifetimes, you know, Lollapalooza or whatever, like back in the day, like when we party that night, like we know what we're partying for, and it just enhances that. It makes it awesome. If I'm like with, you know, when I see my homies after quarantine, I know what I'm gonna be celebrating when I'm, you know, hanging out with them. But especially in our industry, which is like a lifestyle, you know, business, you're in clubs all the time, and you see people that party just all the time, which, you know, we've all kind of gone through that phase. But
Some
if
more
you
than
really,
others.
yeah, of course. But you know, if you really think about it, a lot of the times those people, they're not necessarily celebrating anything, you know,
Mm.
and you know, I feel like they're missing out on the best parties themselves because they're not like they're missing out on those things that they would be celebrating. um and just so yeah, just being around partying that much, that's what I've been thinking about recently.
Mm. I'm with you. With you on that. Someone had a question about layering a kick under the snare. I think those are just rhythm practices.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was
yeah, that was just rhythm
that's it's
practice.
kick and a clap. A snare usually has more like mid kind of weight to it than a clap does. You can really carve out a lot of the mids of a clap. Clap is so high, it much more gracefully layers with a kick.
Hmm. Finn says, when's that new Busted drop?
It's really soon, actually. We're right now, the song is done. We're getting artwork and video dialed in for the rollout. And I'm like super stoked on the whole package so far.
Very
Um,
good.
it's like it's the most emotion I've put into music, maybe ever. It's like it
Ever.
was
I
like
say ever.
dude, I was trying to like this particular week. It was like a really shitty week, just mentally for me. It was like I was going to all like the Black Lives Matter protests and just, you know, just really getting sucked into a lot of, you know, kind of like political bullshit. And you know, but I log in, I log my hours. I'm trying to write bangers, of course.
Of course.
And it just didn't feel right to write like fun dance music at that time. So I just scrapped what I was working on, and I just said, fuck it. I'm just gonna blank canvas and just let something come out. And what came out was like this like sad but hopeful, nostalgic, you know, kind of like beautiful ambient vibe. And I don't know. I think the best art is honest art, and I'm so stoked for people to hear it. I feel like it's gonna resonate with a lot of people because it really effectively encapsulates what I think a lot of people are going through in quarantine.
I have it, just talking about it, it's stuck in my head.
Dude,
So
it's yeah, it's kind of definitely a new page uh
hmm.
for HeRobust. Like
Same
it's
book.
not my typical, you
Same
know.
book, new page, same book.
Yeah.
Not even a new chapter, just new page. Um how many more questions you want? Then we can call it.
I mean, I'm down for whatever, man.
Let's say three or four more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure.
What's your recommendation making a cohesive breakdown that works with the drop? I have trouble. This is Eric Morgan. I have trouble making a sweet heavy drop, but I struggle making a breakdown build up that works together.
Okay, that's, I mean, the fact that he recognizes that it's disjointed between his breakdown and build and his drop, that's huge already, because a lot of people don't have the ear to know that. And you can write the best drop ever, but if it doesn't, it's like a setup and punchline in comedy. Like if your setup is wrong for your punchline, the best drop in the world can be ruined by a terrible, setup. So it's dope that he recognizes that already. But one of the things that I do that I think is kind of tricky is I start with my drop first, and what I'll do is I will EQ just a very thin band of my drop. So I EQ everything out except for one little band. So I can hear the drop just barely in the background. And obviously I keep the drums. And what I'll do is I'll write music over the drums and just with the drop in the background. And what that does is, I'm just writing what sounds good to me at the moment. But little do I know, I'm also writing something that sounds good with like the cadence and the rhythm or the tonality of the drop, because I can kind of hear it in the background too. So then when I take off the EQ and let the drop come back in full, and it transitions from the drop to the new stuff that I wrote, there's some kind of similarity there. There's some kind of common denominator because they sound good together, if that makes sense. And also I know that, it just flows really nicely because I know that they sound good together. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, like, if you have your drop done and you don't know what to do in the breakdown and build up, I said just print the whole thing, the audio, and drag it into the breakdown section and grab pieces of it and throw a reverb about 100% and figure it out.
Yeah, that can totally help too. Yeah, make it like an ambient thing.
Totally. Well, just for ideas, sometimes just throwing situations that probably wouldn't work in a drop section on the drop elements in an earlier section is a cool idea, because that you have that cohesiveness.
Exactly. Totally.
Without giving away the swag,
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the inverse approach.
Totally. I'm the complete opposite. Drops are last for me. Like melodies are first for me.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, you gotta play to your strengths. Like I start every song with sound design and I base it off of a sound that I think is cool. You start every song, because to me that's what my bread and butter is. Your bread and butter is that melody. So that's the focal point of the song. Everything needs to be based around that.
Right.
And whatever you think your strength is as a songwriter or as a producer, that's what should shine, the brightest in your song.
Agreed.
To play to your strengths.
Let's see. That question was already answered.
Are you just scrolling through Discord?
Uh-huh.
I think I have Discord on this computer. Yo, what do you use Discord for actually? Like with your fans, what do you use it for the most?
So basically, the Puppy Crew Discord server is just like a place for everyone to hang out. It's also a place for promo for me, and then it's also just kind of connecting like-minded individuals. It's kind of like same concept as having a Facebook group, or
right.
That's basically same general concept.
But it's your own server, which is sick though.
Yeah. I mean, and like it's like there are different little places, like, oh, you're gonna play this game, like we're gonna chill here, like there's a voice chat, there's a producer section. If you want me to help you set up your server, I can, for sure.
Yeah, no, Dex has asked me if I want to do it, or he has somebody that will help set it up.
Yeah, I mean Perry.
Really sure. Well, yeah, but Perry helps.
It involves being on your computer all day, but I mean, like,
yeah, that's the thing is I would hate to go through and like ask people to put in the effort to like join my shit and
it's a grind, bro.
Not follow through with being
it's a new social media platform.
Enough. Yeah,
it's a new social media platform, which is intimidating and also tough. But I mean, like, you're big enough to where one tweet and it would fill up. All you have to do is kind of give people.
But that just makes it worse if if I'm not interactive in there.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't do it unless you have ideas. But it's just another way of just kind of bringing people together and connecting like-minded individuals, which is basically all it is. And it brings you that. And this actually is a good question that I was gonna ask, that I get asked almost every day, and this is something that I talk about a lot. Is I'm not sure how I made this connection, but how important do you think it is when it comes to branding to have a thing? Like, I don't want to say gimmick or shtick, so I'm gonna say thing.
It's not always a gimmick.
Yeah, right. Gimmick implies negativity, I think. But how important do you think? Like, for me, my thing is dogs.
Right.
And there are lots. I think there are lots of people that have made it really big and don't really have a thing.
Right.
Like,
totally.
Like Zed's Dead. I don't know what their thing is, but I get it. I still feel connected. Or there's somebody like Excision. Like, okay, we get it. You got a thing. Yeah. What do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to play your hand when it comes to like branding yourself. Like, you can be like the very down to earth, human, personable kind of person, or you can be like the larger than life, like, super exclusive, unattainable, like Diplo figure or whatever, shrouded in mystery. Like, there's a million ways to do it. I don't think you have to have a thing, but I think that there's no harm in having a thing, especially if you choose your thing honestly. Like, if I came out tomorrow and I was like, my thing is smoking weed. If you like smoking weed, then you're cool with HeRobust. And now like all my fans are like sending me bong rip pics and stuff. But me, like, I smoke some, but like I don't smoke like, crazy or whatever.
Right.
If I'm dishonest about it, now all of a sudden I gotta, it's gonna be exhausting for me to keep this up for the image of my brand. Whereas like you've done something very honest and you're like, I care deeply about dogs. It's no sweat off your back to be, raising money for animal shelters and all these things. Like, it's a cool opportunity to to deepen your brand in a way that speaks to your personality. I don't see it as much of like a liability to be like cringy or corny, the way that like people kind of view gimmicks. If you choose the right thing, if you choose it carefully and honestly, I think it can totally be an asset to your brand.
I agree. I think the key to this, the answer to this question is authenticity. Yeah. Like you said, like if you fake it, people are going to be like sharks in the water and detect it. But I also don't think, I mean, like, I think it helps.
You're going to go crazy trying to keep it up.
Right. It's really just about you. I think you're totally right about that. Someone asked about Protohype and HeRobust collab. Should we play a little clip of Stacking or what? Let them know.
Yeah, do it.
All right, so this track me and HeRobust made on the 12th Planet tour in 2015.
Don't say it, bro.
2018. 2018. It was 2018. I didn't kidding. This joint never came out. I don't even know if we got the Is it playing? Yeah, it's playing.
Like, I don't even remember like mixing it down. No, I remember the song. I remember like belting out the lyrics like all the time.
Well, it says V10. So we went through it, I think. It does say V10. It says, is there a date on here? Fuck, I got it in my iTunes. Oh my, I'm not gonna say the date.
I don't remember.
Dude, I was wrong about the date, by the way. Just so you know.
I remember like you mixing tunes down like on like the shitty bus speakers, and like all the speakers in there are like farting and cracking, and like it's just clipping the shit out of like, it's like the amps could not handle it. And I was just like, if this works, this is gonna be miraculous.
I was like, this is it. I know how to.
But you did, like, one of your songs that you did on the bus ended up being really really good.
I made like 6 of them. There was a lot on that one. Let's hear it. I'm not gonna look at what it was.
The one with the Yoy on the one.
Oh, Encore.
Yeah.
Encore was on that one. This was before Bomb Bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, bro. And this was like during like the big room house shit, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was dead set on like making like a house tune that was like still cool and interesting.
Right.
And you were like,
Nah.
yo, I can't hear that.
Oh, you can't hear it.
Can the viewers hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's all that matters.
Yeah, totally. It's got like the massive like AFK Jansen. All right, that's all the clip. If anybody dares clip that.
Yeah, but we're gonna do another one just for.
Yeah, we
for
are
the
gonna.
viewers.
I feel like I sent you a few ideas and none of them landed, but
You sent me
be
one
like that.
recently. I didn't like. I don't know.
I
I
don't
feel
know,
like
we
maybe
were-
there wasn't enough there for me to understand where you were trying to go with it.
I most of the time I don't know. So I also me and you are comfortable enough with each other to just send the booty ideas. I don't know if you would ever send me a booty idea,
I would not.
but I know you wouldn't.
Not that I'm not like comfortable, but I would never want to waste somebody's time. Like if it's not good enough for me to put out, on my own, like if I don't want to keep it for myself, then I would never want somebody else to put their name on it.
Totally.
I
Carter,
don't believe in that.
what did you say about production, Carter? Hold on. What's your approach to mastering? Do you just produce loud into a limiter? I feel like the old way of don't produce into a limiter has died. I'm curious of your approach.
So I do not produce into a limiter. I've gone through stages of my career where I did. The reason I stopped is that when you produce into a limiter, when you're really sloppy with your gain staging, a lot of times you can't tell. And like, for example, if one of your sounds in your drop is just way too loud, then a limiter is kind of correcting it's correcting that for you in real time. And it might be like affecting other parts of your drop, like every time that sound kicks in. And so now all of a sudden you're running around in circles trying to alleviate some mixing problem that your mastering chain is now causing, just because all you had to do was turn off the limiter and realize, oh, that's way too loud, and turn it back down. So now I do mastering all at the end. A lot of the young guys say they don't even hardly use limiters on their master anymore. I'm just gonna say for the record, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
If on this quarantine, I've gone through like several weeks of listening to only non-EDM just to kind of like clear my head or whatever. And when I went back to EDM, I was amazed at how much digital distortion was on everybody's music. So I honestly think what's happening is we've all just raised our tolerance to that like hissy digital distortion sound, and we can't even hear it anymore. Like it's just normal to us. But you can totally clip your masters a little bit, but when you see guys talk about like
It's a soft clip.
clipping their snare by
Clip
like
softly.
8 dB or whatever, it's like, no, I don't believe in that.
I don't either. I think the loudness war will sometime end.
Well, actually, dude, it's probably too late for this video, but we should do another video where we talk about like mastering and how like LUFs play into how the different platforms turn your music down. Actually, you know what? Let me just look this up in my email, and I can give people like a link. What is it called?
It's a loudness penalty is a website.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. So you can drag your song in there, and it will tell you like YouTube will turn this down by 13 dB. Spotify will turn it down by 11 dB. iTunes will turn it down by 16 dB. So what I did is I took a song that I was mastering, and I mastered it in a bunch of different ways, like some more dynamic, some less dynamic. But the less dynamic would have lower like top peaks, and then the more dynamic I would clip it by more, so it would peak by maybe 4 dB more. And I was just seeing what the algorithms respond to the most. So I can have the loudest songs on Spotify if I know how to kind of play the algorithm. Um, and that was a nerdy day. That was an extremely nerdy day. Um, but it was kind of cool.
Mm.
Yeah, loudness penalty is dope. I don't know how good they are about updating, like to
Well,
match
yeah, and what Carter is saying
algorithm.
is that with pro accounts, there's no loudness penalty if you turn on high quality streaming, which is interesting.
Yeah, but I just don't believe that. I mean, you
Mm.
got guys that are clipping their DAW by like 12 dB.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Uh,
That minus nothing.
right.
I
Exactly. So
mean, that new Skrillex was 0 lufs.
right.
I mean, they turned it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course they did.
I mean, you got to think like you're gonna break somebody's phone or
Right.
whatever.
Or their brain. Word. We'll take one more and then we're gonna call it.
Cool.
This is a good question to end on. Who is your all-time inspirations? Who are your all-time inspirations?
Um, Andre 3000 is an easy first ballot Hall of Famer in my book.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on like, hip hop and stuff. So people like anyone from like DJ Premier, Timbaland, Jay Dilla, those are the people that got me into producing. Now, like the people that I've obviously Space Laces is just crazy. Um, I think Kill the Noise for me is an inspiring dude. Not that like, stylistically his music is my favorite to make or anything, but I think that he just has a really really good head for um just like honest expression and like putting like really caring about the messaging in his music and like how everything is coming across. Just he puts a very personal touch in his music, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, he's
Um,
just that dude.
yeah, he's an awesome guy. Um, most of my big like inspirations are not really EDM, to be honest. Like
Well,
in
I don't think we're talking ED. I think we're just all time anything.
yeah. I mean, like I said, 3 Sex. Andre is the number one, man. Like he's the shit. Um, yeah,
Dope.
that is it.
Word.
What about
Well,
you, man? What are yours?
oof. All time inspirations. Pharrell, probably number one for me. As far as just production style,
Yeah.
businessman, fashion, musicality,
Yeah, I
like
got
culture.
kind of a hot take. I'm not a huge fan of Pharrell.
Really? What don't you like about him? How are you gonna say you don't like literally my
I
biggest inspiration?
I know,
That is
I
a hot
know.
take.
I'm
Stephen
sorry.
A. The
So
fuck?
here's and maybe this is not something to not like, but this is a really interesting story. So I listened to Drink Champs, which is Noriega's podcast.
Mm.
Nori from like hip hop early 2000s.
Uh-huh.
And he did that song with Pharrell, like the song that popped him off, right? And he said Pharrell called him in the studio and he was like, you're gonna write a verse and a hook, but I want you to stick to this cadence, this specific cadence with how you record on this beat. And Nori was like, okay, that's weird. And just like wrote his own shit and came back. And he tells this whole story. It's fucking awesome. And Pharrell's like, no. It's very important. You have to stick to these cadences with your rhymes. And the chorus has to go like this rhythmically. And he's like, I don't, and like he just kept on vetoing, like Nori's shit until Nori was like, listen. And he played him Vanilla Ice, right? Like that's the big song, right? That's what's it called?
Ice Ice Baby?
Yeah, Ice Ice Baby. Sorry, he played him Ice Ice Baby, and he was like, "This is the track that we made this song after." Like not like he stole the melody or anything like that, but if you listen to when this chord kicks in, or like when the bass drum and the snare, like the cadence of everything rhythmically, they were like the same song. So he was like, if you stick to this rhythm, like this is a tried and true hit. It's worked and we know it. We've like deconstructed it and reassembled it in like a new way. And we're going to have you like fill in what Vanilla Ice did on this. And like maybe that's a really creative way to go about like, you know, reproducing a hit or whatever. But that to me as a means of creating, I was just like, I don't know if I fuck with that. That's crazy.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. That's weird for sure. And that seems like an over controlling producer thing.
I don't mind a producer being like, you know, hands on or whatever. But
I mean, okay. Well, let me list a few more producers then. They're all gonna be rap producers. I'm saying, Just Blaze.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is when I play Coachella, Just Blaze played before me.
That's awesome.
And it was like, first off, his DJ set blew me the fuck away.
Oh yeah, he's supposed to be
man's
good.
can DJ, bro.
Yeah,
it was fire.
Yeah.
Heat Makers. Dipset was one of the biggest inspirations for me growing up. Like my first introduction to computer music was making sample based rap beats.
So yeah.
Like that's
sure.
it. So Just Blaze and you know, Heat Makers was a big deal for me, as well as the RZA.
Yeah, of course. RZA's
and
insane.
you know, the RZA is there. Timbaland is very, very high up there. Cool and Dre is very high up there for me, as far as the melodic, like
right.
If you listen to like the Brown Paper Bag by the Cool and Dre track and listen to a Protohype track, you're like, okay, one came from the other, bro.
Right.
No lie.
That's
So
awesome.
those are big for me for sure, and I feel like I'm leaving out a few big ones. But
Bro, all the 3-6 Mafia shit. I know that was.
yeah, I mean, like that was huge for me, and like becoming friends with DJ Paul was like a big moment in my life. Honestly, one of the biggest moments in my career was getting the DJ Paul feature and then playing headlining Exchange and having DJ Paul come out and do Stay Fly, and then play my track with him after it that he recorded the night before. I got the verse at 1 a.m. the night before it, and he pulls up. I have to tell this story. He pulls up. I'm headlining Exchange, right? One of the arguably a big deal headlining Exchange in LA, huge deal. I definitely was not big enough to do it, but I did it, and Paul came out, and I expected Paul to be like pull up in the back. I'm just gonna slide me in just right before the performance. No. He pulled up driving solo, front of the club. Texted me, said, I'm out front. I went out front, and this is on Spring Street in LA. Like this is where 12 Planet. This is LA.
Yeah.
And he's just out front, standing in front of his rose gold Rolls Royce, bro. The Phantom pulls up solo, solo, bro. And I was just like, no way, man. And I have the video on my phone of me playing it, and I swear I'm not even in the video. I'm just flying in the floating in the background, because it was just the biggest Tennessee moment that will never be surpassed in my life. And Paul was so cool and was just that was just everything to me. Like, 3-6 Mafia is everything to me. So that's man, and that's like they're up there in the top 3 just for the sake as businessmen as well. I mean, as owning your own masters, how to write it, how to write that shit. It's just they're iconic. I love that they just sued Suicide Boys. I saw that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean,
it's crazy, and I hear both sides of the story though. I had forgotten that Suicide Boys produced that whole mixtape for Juicy J and didn't get nothing out of it. But
right.
Anyways, man. This has been fucking great. Shout out to HeRobust.
Thanks for having me, man. Icon Collective.
Round of applause. Shout out to everyone who stayed the whole time, man. That was 2.5 hours of greatness. This is gonna be uploaded to YouTube, and then it will be uploaded as a podcast as well. Thanks to Carter for rating. Thanks for everybody who rated and pulled up, and more of these are gonna be coming in the future. Carter asks, how do we send HeRobust shit, how did we sound HeRobust music? You're gonna listen to this dude Carter's music and you're gonna be like, oh wow.
Dope. Yeah. HeRobustmusic@gmail.com. Send me anything you want. I listen to everything. Yeah, that's it.
You heard it here first. HeRobustmusic@gmail.com. That's the spot. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having me, dude. Thanks
Yeah,
to everybody
dude.
that watched.
I love you to
Super
death,
dope.
man. You're the best,
Love
dude.
you too, man.
I will. I'll see you soon. All right, man.
For sure. For
All
sure.
right,
Be easy,
peace,
man.
dude. You too, man. Yo, well, shout out to everyone that pulled up, and thank you guys so much. That was so fucking awesome, man. That was like the coolest thing ever. So I really appreciate you guys coming out. That was the best stream yet. There's no question. We're going to do this again in 2 weeks. So we're going to do one every 2 weeks. Remember, join the Discord channel, the Discord server. I'm going to pop the link in real quick. Pull up on this and then suggest who you would like to see next. And we're going to make it happen, okay? I appreciate you guys so much, man. So fucking awesome. Thanks to everyone who subscribed. Thanks to everyone who resubscribed. Thanks to everyone who followed. Thanks to everybody who shared this. I really appreciate you guys. It means the world to me. Thank you guys so much. I will tomorrow we got the day off. Thursday we got marbles coming up. You know what the fuck going on, bruh. Marbles. Love you guys. Thank you so much. So awesome. Love you.